Death is one incident that brings deep sadness, but in rare cases, it brings joy and cause for celebration. And that was exactly the mood when Razak Tunji Alaso died. Alhaji Gay, as he was popularly known, was a man who fought crime with more crimes. He was Yahoo Boys' kryptonite. As Yahoo Boys terrorized their victims abroad, Alhaji Gay was in return terrorizing them on home soil. Alhaji Gay was not a police officer, but he had the backing of top police officers. He was not an EFCC official, but he had strong connections in the EFCC. Just like sharks could smell blood from afar, Alhaji Gay knew every Yahoo boy who had just cashed out, and he would come to collect his share. And trust me, he never showed up alone. He always came with company. Sometimes he raided with police officers. Sometimes he raided with EFCC officials. Sometimes with SAS officials. And sometimes he moved with street thugs who were armed and ready to do his bidding, and you had better pay him. He had his means of getting information on Yahoo boys who had just received money from abroad. Sometimes he used prostitutes to get information on Yahoo boys. He also forced and threatened Yahoo boys to snitch on each other, and so many other means in which he was able to accurately know people who had just had a big payday. Sometimes he would call before coming to let you know that he's aware that you just made money and he's coming to collect, and woe betide you if he comes and doesn't find you at home. Alhaji Gay was well known in the southwestern region of the country. In Lagos, Osun, Oyo, and Ogun State, at the mention of his name, Yahoo boys took to their heels. Many young men even ran away from Nigeria because of him. With his connections in law enforcement, there were cases where he actually traveled out of the country to arrest some Yahoo boys. He traveled to South Africa, Benin Republic, Kenya, and many more. Alhaji Gay was not some cheap or lenient extortionist. He was extorting millions of naira. Sometimes he would collect 80 to 90% of crime proceeds from Yahoo boys. A typical case of monkey dey walk, baboon dey chop. And in cases where his target had no money to give him, Alhaji Gay would seize properties like cars, chains, even houses. I mean, he was a well-fed extortionist. Alhaji Gay's extortion was so bad that one Yahoo boy had to write a letter to a popular blog back in the day, olufamous.com. The blog has now been sold to an Indian. Anyway, in his letter, he petitioned the Inspector General of Police to look into Alhaji Gay's operation. A Yahoo boy reporting to the Inspector General of Police. Anyway, his letter reads, "My name is Ibrahim Dipo, a final year student at the Leeds City University. Although I admit what I was doing with my friends was wrong, but no other means of survival. I drive a range sport. On the 15th of December last year, 2012, some policemen and the EFCC official came to my house, alongside with the popular ex-convict man, now police fake informant, Alhaji Razak Tunji Alaso, called Alhaji Gay. He was arrested so many times but released because he used to settle the Commissioner of Police in Lagos and Ibadan. They came at 7 a.m. and jumped into my compound. They showed me a fake petition which I thought was real, with the signature of the Inspector General of Police, IG MD Abubakar. They arrested me and took my range sport, wristwatch, jewelry worth 590k, $3,900 in cash, laptop, and took me in the Danfo bus to an unknown destination. They took me to an empty house in Ijebu, where I saw some other boys too who was detained there. The Alhaji Gay picture above asked how much I had in my bank account. I have in total of 3.2 million naira in my first bank account. He was ordering the fake EFCC and policemen because he is in charge. The Alhaji Gay told me to go and withdraw all and was holding all my stuffs. And also, the fake EFCC men told me if I notify anyone, they will use the petition against me. Out of fear, I went to the bank and withdrew the money for Alhaji with 10,000 naira balance. He also collected my original car papers. He released me and didn't give me my car back after they collected all my money. I keep calling his private line. He later told me my car is being sold, and if I want to use power, then the IG will release another petition and the EFCC will arrest me again. A month after, I lost my mom and life has been rough for me. Please, the IG of police can look into this issue of Alhaji. Why are fake policemen and fake EFCC extorting money from Yahoo boys? It's really sad. This kind of frustration can lead someone to armed robbery. If truly IG of police is aware of this, then this is really bad. Few days after, he arrested 5 of my friends too at Unilag and took all their cars with some policemen from Alagbon. The total money he got from them was in total of 7 million naira and 3 range spots and 2 LR3. Now, he's calling me and looking for more money after he collected everything I had. The policeman from Alagbon was even arguing with Alhaji that the share of the money he gave them was small. What a shame to the Nigerian police and EFCC. The guy who wrote this letter is the first and only person who uploaded Alhaji's picture online. That's this picture. He attached it to this letter, and to date, that's his only picture that is online. Well, shortly after the letter was published, Alhaji responded. He wrote back to the blog, and this was his response. Dear Olufamous, I have helped the Nigerian police and EFCC arrest over 500 Yahoo boys in Nigeria. They know I have done a good job so far. I started with policemen from Alagbon. When the IG confirmed I am doing a good job, he invited me to Abuja and assigned the commissioner, DIG and AIG, EFCC chairman to work with me. I have made them recover a lot of expensive SUVs and properties bought by Yahoo boys and 419ers. Nigerians should always thank me for a good job, as the police authority has always have my support. The allegations by Ibrahim Dibo are not fully true because we returned his car back to him. The money in his account was not up to that amount, it was just below 2 million naira, and the IG took the money from him because it's stolen money. Please publish it so that people will not see me as a bad person and give me a bad image. A bad person doesn't want to be seen as a bad person. Now, those who never encountered Alhaji would think that staying away from fraud would keep Alhaji away, but that was far from the truth. Alhaji didn't only target boys who were into fraud, he also targeted young men who were making an honest living. He had incriminating laptops, phones, SIM cards and whatnot that he stockpiled and used to frame innocent people. During his illegal raids and searches, he would plant incriminating materials in the houses and cars of his victims, and he would leave the victim with 2 options: pay and go scot-free or languish in prison. Those who proved stubborn and tried to get a lawyer to defend them eventually landed in prison, and some of them lost their youth in prison, just as Alhaji had earlier threatened. If you decide to go report to the police, good luck with that, because Alhaji used his extortion proceeds to line the pockets of high-ranking police officers who always had his back. I mean, there were times when he got into serious trouble and he was actually arrested by some police officers, as seen in this picture here. But in no time, he was out and about on the street once again. His victims didn't only part ways with their money and properties. In some cases, Alhaji sexually assaulted his male victims. There was an 18-year-old boy named Kabiru Amusa who worked as a petrol attendant at Ayokunu petrol station in Abule Taylor bus stop in Lagos. Alhaji promised to get the boy a better job and asked the boy to come visit him. The boy was reluctant to go, but after being invited several times, on Friday, 16th of January 2009, the boy finally decided to honor Alhaji's invitation, and he went to his house at number 7 Barusam Street, Alagbado in Lagos. On getting there, Alhaji offered the boy Don Simon that had been spiked. The boy drank it and passed out. Alhaji locked the boy up, and Alhaji and his friends did things to this boy that I can't say in this video. When the boy woke up, he saw Alhaji cleaning up and putting on his clothes, and the boy was bleeding badly. Alhaji released the boy, and out of fear and shame, the boy couldn't tell anyone what Alhaji did to him. The boy was unable to defecate for 4 days as he was still bleeding, and at that point, he had no other option than to open up to his father. His father took him to the Area G police station in Ogba, and the police at that station were extremely furious. They immediately stormed his house, and on seeing them, Alhaji fled through the roof of his house. The police arrested others who were involved in molesting the boy. 39-year-old Wahab Adeniyi, 32-year-old Gbenga Aladelusi, 21-year-old Okoro Emeka, 24-year-old Hastrop Adesoji, 23-year-old Gbenga Udumolu, and 45-year-old Aziz Amusa were all arrested. The police also arrested a 38-year-old woman named Mrs. Yetunde Adeluba, who aided Alhaji in escaping. They were all detained at Kirikiri Maximum Prison and were charged before the Ikeja Magistrates Court 8 for conspiracy and indecent sexual assault on a male. The Area G Police Command declared Alhaji wanted, and this case was what led to his nickname Alhaji. Nothing has since been heard regarding the trial of the 7 who were arrested. For Alhaji, he laid low for a while, and through his connections in the police, he resurfaced later on like nothing had happened, and he continued terrorizing young boys even more. Unlike Kabiru and Musa, many other victims of Alhaji didn't come out publicly to the press to share their ordeal with Alhaji, but people in the community knew about things that went down. There were strong claims that he was also involved in ritual killings and also used charms to protect himself, but those claims were never thoroughly verified. Harassing and extorting young boys wasn't his only strong suit. Alhaji was a notorious land grabber. Elderly landlords who had worked hard all their lives and used their hard-earned money to purchase a house, Alhaji would come with bogus claims and he would forcefully take away their only retirement hope. Widows whose husbands had left them houses before they passed, Alhaji would ruthlessly come and take their houses with brutal force. He sold some of those lands and some of them he used for himself, and even started building hotels, Tunji Alaso hotels. Back in Alagbado where he lived, Alhaji made himself an unofficial tax collector, and he would go around with thugs to the market to force traders to pay levies to him. Those who were building new houses were not exempted. Alhaji would show up as Omonile, and he would make the owners pay before they continued their construction. What Alhaji didn't know was that power belongs to the people. The people may take too long to realize this. Sometimes they may need to be pushed to the wall to wield their power, but if they eventually wield this power, nobody can defeat the people. The Yahoo boys didn't have much of a case. They were criminals who were fought by a higher criminal. But for the landlords, they were honest businessmen who had finally had enough of Alhaji. On Wednesday, 15th of July 2015, the traditional ruler, Baale of Temidire Alagbado, Chief Nojim Abioye, alongside 25 other landlords in Temidire Alagbado, went to the Lagos State Police Command in Ikeja to submit a petition to the Commissioner of Police, Fatai Owoseni. Part of the petition reads, "The suspect, identified as Alhaji Tunji, has raped many young men in the area and usually moved with thugs to collect money from traders and the people building houses in the community. Tunji has continued to buy his way out and molest them with hoodlums, taking possession of people's land, boasting that he is untouchable." As expected, Alhaji came out and denied the accusations, and the Lagos State Police Public Relations Officer, DSP Kenneth Nwosu, promised to investigate the issue. To the surprise of absolutely nobody, nothing was done by the police, and Alhaji continued to terrorize the people. This would not be the first time he would be reported to the police. Whenever there was tension, he would leave the area for a while and then resurface later on to continue terrorizing the people. Like I said earlier, there were times he was arrested by the police, but he would be released later on, after which he would return with even greater terror. On Sunday, 19th of July 2015, just 4 days after the landlords had reported him to the police, Alhaji and his thugs beat up an elderly landlord in Temidire Alagbado to the extent that the elderly man was hospitalized. The Baale and the landlords in Temidire Alagbado had reported to the police earlier on, and nothing was done, so they decided to stage a protest. They mobilized the youths And very early on Monday morning, 20th of July 2015, the people hit the streets. The protest started peacefully as people held placards with different inscriptions, one of which was, "Alhaji must leave our community, we want peace." The people chanted solidarity songs as they called on the government to intervene. They were tired of Alhaji and didn't want him anymore in their community. To prevent the protests from getting violent, the police came on board and even provided security for the protesters. That morning, Alhaji came to Alafia Street to supervise construction work that was going on in one of his new buildings. Of course, you should know that he also stole that land too. When he came for supervision, then he was told about the protest that was going on. By past 11 that morning, Alhaji and his boys came to the protest ground, and he made a subtle mockery of the protesters by taking pictures of them. This pissed the protesters off and they smashed his car. He drove off and went straight to Alagbado police station. There, he was furious and accused a senior police officer at the station of working with the community leaders to stage a protest against him. A visibly angry Tunji Alaso was heard shouting, "You have betrayed me. You have conspired against me." He then left the police station and went back to the protest ground with more of his men. He started shooting at the protesters, and as people ran for their lives, the bullets hit 2 people, and that was when Alhaji signed his own death warrant. The first person was shot in the arm, and he was taken to a hospital where he was eventually treated. But the other person who was shot was a 48-year-old father of 5 named Ganiyu Adebayo, and he died while he was being taken to a hospital. This changed the dynamics of things at the protest ground. The people were no longer running away from him. They took the fight to him instead. His boys tried to put up a resistance and fight for their boss, but when they saw the overwhelming force and anger from the people, they fled and left their boss to his fate. The angry youths chased Alhaji. They were shouting, "Ole Salo, Wakuloni," meaning you cannot run away, you will die today. They eventually caught up with him, and Alhaji was stabbed in the neck and abandoned on the street in a pool of his blood, and he eventually bled to death on a stretcher in a hospital where he was rushed to. I have the photo of his body right after he was killed, but I can't put it in this video because of YouTube community guidelines. It's only Telegram that allows this kind of picture. I'm looking at the picture of his body as I record this, and at the end of the day, he was just another mortal who thought he was invincible. When the news of his death broke out, there was wide jubilation on social media. People who knew Alhaji said his death was good riddance to bad rubbish. The celebration reached as far as Malaysia, as men who had run away from Nigeria because of him rejoiced. While there was jubilation on social media, for the community where Alhaji died, they were struck with fear. Fear of revenge from Alhaji's boys, who had promised to avenge his death. They compiled a list of names of people who were involved in Alhaji's death and vowed to make them pay dearly for his death. The chiefs in the community ran away and turned off their phones. Shops were closed. There was little movement on AIT Road as his boys smashed cars and attacked people on that road, and the fear in the atmosphere could be seen by the blind and heard by the deaf. The police had to intervene and restore calm in the community. Soldiers were sent to his hotel in Amikanle AIT Road to protect lives and properties and prevent breakdown of law and order. Chief Nojim Abioye, the Bale of Temidire Alagbado, and his son Wahab Abioye were arrested by the police. Adeola Ogungbade, Ogundari Ogunsaya, Olanle Rewaju Ololade, Bello Lasisi, Ajani Kasali, Oyedele Musiliu, Jonathan Sanyolu, Taurid Bakari, and Olaidi Albert were also arrested alongside the Bale and his son, and they were all arraigned on the 5-count charge bordering on conspiracy, rioting, malicious damage, arson, and murder of Tunji Alaso. They were remanded in Kirikiri Medium Prison, and the case progress has since not been public. The crazy thing in this story is how Nigeria forced Nigerians to take the law into their hands. In this case, the country literally forced its citizens to become barbaric. That was the only option available for them to save themselves, and the state was very quick to charge people for his murder. Meanwhile, the criminal was supported and he was allowed to roam the streets of Nigeria freely as he terrorized Nigerians until his death. Anyway, for more crime stories, click on the subscribe button.